Welfare is not a career opportunity. We've heard that. There's a lot of issues around welfare, welfare reform, and trying to recoup welfare and figure out how to um, have less and less of that being a need in American society. But what they fail to highlight is racism, systematic oppression, and marginalizing black people, blaming poor people and black people for welfare. So this video is going into some extension of what I had already posted about welfare and blaming and blamers and shamers, uh, who is on the welfare and who is not on the welfare. And so I'm reading from Pundit Facts from an article by Louise Jacobson on Wednesday, January 28, 2015. And it says, are there more welfare recipients in the U.S. than full-time workers? One of the turning points in 2012 presidential campaign as Republican nominee Mitt Romney privately saying that 47% of the population supporters of Barack Obama, he said, were people that are dependent on government assistance, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has responsibility to care for them, who believe that they are entitled to health care, food, and housing, and you name it. 2012 election is long over, but this theme, sometimes framed as markers versus takers, is an enduring topic in American politics. So it's virtually highlighting the whole thing that I'm talking about. And recently there was a clip shown of this movie called Claudine, with James Earl Jones and Diane Carroll, and there's a black family, and they were going through a troublesome time with poverty. And I want to include here that what's really, really, really important in that whole genre theme is that black men and women have been systematically, racially profiled, oppressed, and treated harshly in America through racism. And there's a lot of feeling of entrapment, there's a lot of systematic oppression, there's marginalization, there is poverty that is evident due to racial violence and hatred. And so that movie, that term welfare queen comes from that movie Claudine in the 70s with James Earl Jones and Diane Carroll, when they played two people who fell in love, and the woman, I believe she had 5 to 6 kids, and she was on welfare. But they show this woman, she had to hide his clothes, she had to pretend like he wasn't living with her, and she couldn't have a man in the house, because if she had a man there, it says that he's supporting her. And I blame that on the breakup also of the black families. And see, they don't bring that out in a lot of American media, that the breakup of black families has been deliberately perpetrated through these programs that claim they're helping poor and black people and people of color, but they've also contributed to the demise of black families and poor people, and kind of entrapped them in situations. And for people in poverty, the symptoms is drug and alcohol abuse, and then they wind up homeless. Also, there's the feeling trapped, that you're in a cycle or trouble of these government assistance programs. You feel you're hopeless, powerless, like you can't get out of it, and you're stuck. And if you have criminal background, or you were blamed for something you didn't do, now you can't find a decent job, you have to take a low paying job, you're pretty much stuck, and you're dependent on welfare and government assistance. And then with the cost of the rise in housing prices, and then with the cost of living, and then there's the issue of gentrification that has been coming up in a lot of the cities, where they want to bring the wealthy people in, cities that were once occupied from like families that were like people of color or low income, or maybe even median income, where they were living in these areas. They could afford this, but they're slowly being pushed out because it's overpriced and it's too expensive for them to live as families. Just even with a regular income, people that are middle class, it's dwindling. So, and then jobs are low paying. There's not enough opportunity, not enough great jobs for people to advance. And so this state's been called the welfare state here. I believe California and in a number of other states where they've had issues around surrounding welfare reform and what have you, and poverty in communities that are low income or people that are poor and people of color. And what they don't all mention as well is that you have corporate industries, and I brought up in a previous clip about welfare and some other places where I don't know if people knew about this, that they were hiring undocumented immigrant workers, but they were using them for cheap labor. And so they're also to blame for the reason why you have those issues going on. I believe Walmart was involved in an incident where they had Russian immigrants who were undocumented, and they had them cleaning, and then like their regular workers, they paid them low wages and encouraged them to get on welfare and receive the low wage pay. So, they blame Obama, but they never look at all the other ethnic groups that are also participating in welfare, even if it's in other areas of welfare. Yeah, and also they never look at people who are virtually in situations where they have no other alternative but to receive welfare because of disability and what have you. And so those things are not talked about enough.